Welcome to Impostrix Podcast, where we affirm the lived experiences of professionals of color who navigate imposter syndrome and racial toxicity at work. The tools that you learn here will help you confidently address racial toxicity at work, put that imposter syndrome to the side, stand in your power, and resist racial gaslighting. I'm your host, Whitney Knox-Lee, a Black mother to Black boy children, a civil rights attorney, and an anti-racism educator and trainer. If this is your first time listening, welcome. We're glad you're here. Episodes are published every week. Make sure you go back and listen to our past episodes. All right, here we go. Welcome back to Impostrix Podcast. I am here today with Kamal X. I am looking forward to this conversation because we're talking today about Black folks and art. And it's something that I've not considered myself a creative or an artiste. So I'm really looking forward to getting this perspective. So Kamal, can you introduce yourself?
Hey, thank you so much for having me, number one. This is so awesome. The meeting, everything building up to today has been awesome. So I appreciate you and your listeners have an amazing host and show. Um, but to quickly introduce myself, my name is Kamal X. I'm a photographer based out of Brooklyn, New York. I have a new book coming out called Black Astronaut, which comes out October 24th, which goes into everything from George Floyd to the pandemic to women's rights to even the situation with the political campaign vibes that was going down
Oh, Lord.
back in the day. Yeah, so it's a real reflection. It does people that have seen the book so far really love how it seems to give people an eye into those times from a different lens to
Mhm.
revisit it, because I think for a lot of us getting through 2020 and the pandemic was just like a day-to-day struggle, and most of us still haven't taken time to really dive into what that was and the feelings that we dealt with and found healing really in a lot
Mhm.
of ways. So I believe Black Astronaut gives an opportunity for all those things. So yeah.
Awesome. Yes, I'm definitely gonna ask you about the book in a bit. But can you tell us what identities, besides being a photographer, what identities do you come to this conversation with?
Oh man, see, I was just going to say artists because I really thought about this question in terms of being honest about where I am today, because I've learned that like this whatever dream um you have to put your all into it. You can't like do it part-time. It's something you have to put every part of you into if you really want to create the things that you see in your heart or in your mind and like make those
Mhm.
things a reality. There's no shortcuts. So I'm 24/7 artist right now. So it's just, and I like it. And the fluidity that I like about it is, even though it's not just about like working hard, it's also paying attention to what's around me,
Mm,
the moments and just being present.
mm.
I think these things, even when I'm not behind the camera trying to create an image, I'm always paying attention to the moment and just, and I would call that being an artist. That might just be me being a person that's being present.
Yeah,
That's something that I'm really identifying with as of late, as it just seems like that's the best way to see what's going on around you and to feel what you feel, to like really be
yeah.
present.
Yeah, I struggle with being present. I am somebody that I deal with anxiety, I deal with depression, and so I've heard people say that, like, the anxiety is the fear about the future, and the depression
Mm,
is, like, feeling my past.
mm,
And so I've been actively working on being more present to get me out of those 2 uncomfortable spaces, and even when the
mm,
present is uncomfortable, being okay with that,
mm.
and as I become more comfortable in my own skin, as I become more comfortable in my values, more rooted in my values and in my power, it's something that, is coming. It's coming to
Mm.
me, the sense of presence. So, being an artist, this is relatively new for you, right?
Yeah, so I've been doing photography itself for about 7 years.
Mhm.
But things It takes a while to get to professional vibe though. Things kind of shifted a lot during the pandemic, honestly. So I
Mm,
would say, yeah, but the last 3 or 4 years, my career has kinda, like, went in a completely different direction than it was, and it was a lot of hard work to get to that point, but also, it was a point of just making a decision to, like, really take it seriously, and not be afraid of failure. Like, because sometimes, again, you can kinda, like, do this thing where like you're doing just enough, but you don't want to overextend because if it fails, you'll feel like a failure and you'll not like
mhm.
so you're like reaching around other things and stuff like that, kind of being too cool about it, to be honest. And I guess when the pandemic happened, we all didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if we would get sick and be in the hospital. So I really like made a decision like, yo, what do you want to do? Like what
Mm,
for real? Cause this might be it, bro. So like you I'd be damned if I get out of here and I didn't at least admit exactly what I wanted, at least put 120,000% into something I really wanted. Like no excuses, no worrying about how cool it looks, no worried about if it is a success or not. Just do it for the feeling of knowing you showed yourself what you really who you really are, you know? And once I put that type of detail into photography, everything kind of like shifted and a lot of doors opened. And I think the thing that really besides the intention, I think once I said what I wanted, I realized the work I had to do to get it. And that meant
mm,
studying. That meant
mhm.
doing research. That meant reaching out to other photographers, people that I was uh, little shy about beforehand, but once I made that decision, like, you don't got no time to be shy. You don't got no time to be cool. You got no time to worry if they replying to your email or not. Like, no, send that email. If they ask to see your work and you don't feel good about it, so what? Like, you're trying to grow. So my photography journey kind of started out of like a need to be heard. And for a lot of my childhood and uh I would say teenage years, I felt a big pressure to try to fit in to something that I knew deep down I didn't fit into, but I didn't know there was other routes. No one showed me a different route. It was kind of either you do these two things or these three things or you're going to be in jail. Like literally it was like you're going to end up in the system and you're not going to it was like, wow, damn, am I a loser or something wrong with me mentally because I just don't seem to gravitate towards these things. And I
Mhm.
played that game. I figured out ways like I got in real estate. I did really well in that. I'm still in real estate as an investor. So I'm thankful for that, but I knew that wasn't my happiness. So as things kind of like progressed in the business stuff, I'm still feeling that sense of like I never got to say who I am. I never got to put my truth out there. I never got to like unapologetically let the world know who I am. So that's a big reason also for my photography and why I've been so passionate about it and getting these visions out.
So, like, what were the avenues that people were trying to take you down?
Lawyer, doctor, teacher was
Mm,
another one that I saw because they were teachers, so they were like
yeah,
championing that. I went to a powerhouse high school, so I had a lot of professional athletes and Olympians in there from different like track and water polo and swimming. So we also saw people that were going to the NBA, so it was just a
yeah,
very like the level of and when you think of an artist, you don't think, "Oh, a successful person that can, has a family and can go on family trips." So, there was an insecurity to even say things that didn't fit the, "Wow, you gonna do your thing," It's
right.
kinda like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Good luck with that." Like so as a kid, you're always looking for affirmation. You're always looking for
Yeah,
someone to give you that feeling of like, "Oh, this is it. Like, people care about this." So, for me personally, I just remember a lot of that being, like, not like that, and I just kinda
mm,
did my own thing, but there was this worry like, "Oh, he doesn't have a plan. He's not gonna be okay," and I kinda ingested that and took that in, not realizing there's so many more avenues, there's so many more ways, and that's why I'm thankful I met the people I've met when I've gotten older to kinda open my mind up to possibility. So it just
yeah,
information matters.
yeah, and I know in my own family, I've seen that narrative play out of, we like art in my family, we appreciate art, we have artists who are well known in that community, but it was still, like, we needed to do something that was
Mhm.
gonna provide stability, I think is really
Mhm.
what it comes down to. And
Mhm.
both of my siblings, I would say, are art folks. My
Mhm.
brother is really, into fashion and fashion design, and my
Holla.
sister into painting
Oh,
and drawing.
beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And then
Mhm.
also the kind of stepping back to what we decide is success.
Mhm.
And I love what you're saying because what I hear in this conversation and our previous conversations was much more about like success, being happy with yourself and being in a
Right.
space where we can be in our bodies
Right.
and be happy with that instead
Mhm.
of going to do something that maybe our heart isn't in or our passion isn't in, but we're doing it because of this fear of failure,
Right.
and then not really being happy there.
Right.
And it's this conversation is coming at an interesting time because I'm deciding what I'm doing next. In addition to trying to be more present, I've been trying
Mhm.
to listen to myself more. I've been trying to
Mhm.
listen to intuition. I've been trying to listen
Mhm.
to how my body feels when I'm entering certain spaces or when I'm doing certain things. And for a long time, I my body has not felt great
Mhm.
when I'm entering legal spaces. I wasn't able necessarily to correlate how I was feeling with what I was doing as far as my chosen profession, and
Mhm.
instead was correlating it to, well, this is just the grind. This is just the 9 to 5. This is just,
Yeah.
that thing. And,
Mhm.
yeah, that might be part of it, but certainly it's not all of it.
Mhm.
So,
Definitely.
when you decided to go into photography professionally, what
Mhm.
was that like for you as far as navigating either the voices in your head or other people trying to kind of push you back into a mold?
Well, yeah, and quick before I answer that question, I just wanna comment a little bit what you're saying. One, that's so brave of you to admit and be honest with yourself about it, because I think honesty is the first part. You have to be honest with your reality, how you feel, checking in, because everyone has their own journey and no one has the game plan for you. People can give you advice, you can look around and see things that might make sense to you. But at the end of the day, this is your life. And I think that's one of it's difficult. It's hard as hell, but also it makes it beautiful once you kind of like trust yourself and your intuition and make your decisions and you get on the other side of the BS basically and you find out, oh wow, I'm in a better place. Um Sometimes you have to play the game and just know that you're playing the game, but have an exit strategy. Use them just the way they try to use you. And I think sometimes when you shift your perspective to think of it like, okay, I don't like what I'm doing, but this is giving me stability. This is giving me resources. There's resources around that. If I figure out a game plan that gets me out of here, maybe, but I can use this to my benefit. Now I'm in control. I'm no more just drifting around. I'm no more just like hoping today's going to be a good day. It's like, no, I'm not even here. I'm just using y'all just like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's some triumph in shifting perspectives to figure out a way that works for you. So um, but your question was about photography. How did I when people were pushing against me, how did I kinda, like, keep going?
Yeah.
Um, I just I I just man, like, life is short, and you won't confuse having a meaningful, fulfilling moment with something that feels empty. You can't confuse the 2. They're completely 2 different experiences. When you're connecting with someone that you really catch a vibe with, when you're creating something that really ignites your spirit and does something to you, that's different than just the mundane kinda like just chopping away at the tree or just, like, staying busy or running errands and having meetings, but you don't really feel that energy. So I think once I started feeling that energy for photography, especially from a pure space, like I didn't start it trying to be a professional. I didn't discover myself as an artist until like during that 7 years, not until like year 3 or 4 did I actually even consider myself an artist, yet alone a professional. So I think just trusting that feeling and going with that. My life has always kind of been this thing, like I told you earlier with school and everything, this thing where I was outside the lines, I had to figure it out. I had to like not have much affirmation to tell me, yo, you're going the right way. And I just had to, which was very difficult, but it also gave me thick skin. It also gave me a sense of resilience, and a faith in myself when I apply myself. Like I quickly learned if I tell myself I want to do something, I can do it because I didn't have a lot of support to do a lot of the things I wanted to do, like traveling the world. I did a book called A Quest Supreme, which was, traveling the world for 5 years to over 40 countries. And people looked at me crazy for that. And this is before Instagram became this whole like share your photos and traveling. This is before all that. So I was just out there backpacking, going to all these countries and taking pictures. And I remember even my mom was like, yo, why are you doing this? And I didn't even know. I was like, but I know what I feel when I do this. I know this gives me something that nothing else gives me. And there's no way I have that feeling and I'm not going to create something out of this. Like it's too magnetic for me. And I remember it got to a point where I had to start lying to my mom about where I was at. Like I'll be in Egypt and I'll tell her, yeah, I'm in Miami right now, like because she would freak out. She'd be like, why are you in Egypt? What's going on? And it's like, yeah, but I trust my heart. So I
Yeah.
think I've always kind of had people not, and then it's art. So no one really knows how that world works anyway. So it's kind of this thing you just trust it. And then once and not that it's about financial situations or whatever, because I still have real estate, but once things started opening up, I started getting deals with big name brands and stuff like that and getting published. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, hey, then like sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew I bet on me, I knew I was gonna be all right, but that's that faith
Yeah.
and but that's not everyone doesn't get that. I'm blessed and thankful is what I'm saying, because it's a lot of luck too, it's a lot of
Yeah.
right place, right time, um, and just grinding and believing in yourself, truthfully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and what I heard you say at the beginning was, like, putting yourself in the right places too, in
Yeah.
terms of investing in yourself, investing
Yeah.
in your craft. Like,
Mm,
I I have a side hustle,
mhm,
and because I've had a full-time job, I haven't really been able to invest in that, and now I
mhm,
have the opportunity to do that, and I'm excited for what that brings because,
mhm,
of course, like, I'm limited. I'm a human. I'm limited in my energy, I'm limited in my time, I'm limited in my money, and
mhm,
so, having multiple projects at the same time is fine, but for me, what it means is that I can't necessarily put all of me into something that I might want to be putting all of me
mhm,
into. So, it is I do think, yes, it's luck. It's also who we know and the connections that
mhm,
we're making and networking and all that stuff. But so talking about product, I want to hear about this book because
mhm.
it sounds amazing, first of all. I have a
Thank
lot
you.
of questions about just how you intend or hope for me as a consumer to perceive this book. So, what is your book? What's in it? Um, Tell us about it.
Thank you. So yeah, Black Astronaut, The Stars Belong to the People. As I said earlier, it's kind of my journey through 2020 and like just finding myself through all the chaos outside. One of the reasons why it's called Black Astronaut is because in a lot of ways, once I chose to leave my apartment in Oakland, California, and as you all guys all know, with the pandemic and the air basically being your worst enemy at that point, so going out taking pictures after George Floyd was murdered, with a lot of protective gear on, masks, gloves, the whole nine, because I was extremely afraid of it. And this is before we knew like the facts about corona and all that stuff. So I remember feeling like one, the America I thought I knew did not exist. That everything looked crazy outside. And it was nothing like what CNN said. It felt like a brand new world. So with a mixture of all the protective gear and the fact that I feel like I was in a new world, I'm like, yo, I'm an astronaut at this point. Like I feel like I'm on a man on a mission going into uncomfortable environments. And when you think of like an astronaut for itself, like what that suit is for, like going into the unknown, going into harsh environments that would literally kill you if you didn't have this protective gear. In a lot of ways, the stuff I was shooting and the environments I was putting myself into for the story, it felt like that level of threat, honestly. But I knew after seeing what happened to George Floyd, man, I just knew like I owed it to him and the ancestors and everyone that has been hurt, murdered by police brutality, injustice, like to as I am alive with the camera, they deserve to have me put my all into it, like, and not
Yeah.
be
Wow.
afraid because I saw a lot of photographers that also seemed like they were getting the rage outside and all the burning cars and all that, but they weren't getting the compassion and empathy and the true, even the grief, that was going on and pain. It was more about just all that rage and yelling. And I'm like, yo, that's just looking for clickbait. That's the algorithm. That's not what's really going on. And
Yep.
once I investigated for myself, I quickly found out there was so much more to our story. There was so much more that America was saying. There was so much more that television and phone just was not going to show you. And I felt like, wow, this needs to be seen. Like, this isn't just something for my own records. I quickly realized, like, this is something I need to create into something bigger, like a book. Um, and yeah, and it goes into that. I shot it for 3 years. It's 3 years of shooting. And I didn't want it to feel like, oh, this is just one of those books. This is just like, I wanted to push the envelope and trust myself. And to my surprise, I got a deal out of it. And it's like, this is a dream. Like, even talking to you right now is a part of my dream.
Mm,
And yeah, Black Astronaut is a big part of who I am. The book is rooted in inspiration, honestly. It's
okay.
about pushing yourself beyond your limits, being on a mission. And for me, that mission was covering that story. But within it, you'll see there's a lot of imagery and wordplay that really is about what is your mission, though? Like, where are you going? How do you continue to pass the baton? What is
Wow.
your place in this space in America? Like, or this life that you're living? Like, that's the question. I definitely didn't want it to be about just the past. I wanted to take us
Yeah.
somewhere. So that's kind of the Black Astronaut in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that gives me goosebumps just in light of, what we're talking about and where I'm at in my life of
Mm,
this. What is the mission? What is my
mm,
mission?
mm,
And just the imagery that comes to my mind as of you as a black man going out into this world trying to shoot these images
mhm,
of this experience that to some extent, yes, it was a collective experience and that we all went through COVID. But you and
mm,
I know, and other brown people out there know, that the
mhm,
experience that we had was a little
mhm.
bit different than the
Yeah,
experience that white people had.
yeah,
The experience that Asian people had in the United States was very different than the
yeah,
experience than you or I had, um,
exactly.
because of racism and because of our ignorant president saying things. And
Mhm,
so the imagery of going out in protective gear and just
mm,
exploring to see what's out there, to see what our humanity really looks like right now, to
right.
see how we are grieving, to see how we are becoming compassionate or more compassionate in some ways, with each other. And then also what you started out by saying of this, like, if I'm going out, then I'm going out doing the thing, doing the
I
thing that
love.
brings me passion and
Mhm,
that brings me joy and that makes me feel like me,
mhm,
that for me is just so empowering because what's this life about anyways?
mm.
You know?
Yeah,
Like what is this life about if it's not going to be about us doing the things that we're called to do?
right. And answering that call. And that's the thing, because I think
Mhm.
for me, it's a decision. Like, when I saw the video of George Floyd, I had a decision, and I'm not. It wasn't. I mean, I was so riled up though. Like, I was gonna go out
Yeah.
regardless, but there still was a decision. Like, I could have been like, "Oh, no," but I don't wanna, the risk factors taking place. And I was outside when they were shooting, like, those smoke bombs and people doing, like,
Mhm.
it was going down, like, so I could have decided to not go, and I would have been in my right to, but I think there's pivotal moments in everyone's life where there's a call. Like, it just happens. Like, road meets the rubber. You've been building towards the opportunity, shows itself, and it's like, you've been waiting for this. You've been talking about this, and it's like, no judgment on you if you don't take it, but just recognizing when that opportunity does come, because when you do answer your
Mhm.
calling, I think that magical things can happen, because that's your calling for a reason. There's a reason why you feel what you feel. I think sometimes we underestimate what our emotions are telling us. Like, when you're pulled or
Yep.
something bothers you or something got you, like, that means something is in you. That means, like, there might be something in you that really is impactful.
Mhm. This is like one of the key. purposes for me of Impostrix podcast is one to just let folks know that whatever you're feeling, what okay, so we say like feelings aren't facts, right? But
Mm.
like
Mm.
listen
Mm.
to them.
Mm.
Because I don't know, I don't even know if I agree with feelings aren't facts anymore,
Right.
because I spent so much time trying to be in feelings aren't facts and trying to push away the discomfort and rationalize the discomfort or say, "I'm just being whatever,
Right.
sensitive, crazy, irrational," whatever the case may be, when really, like, no, like, that was my intuition. That was my, like, gut, that was my higher power, that was any number of things other than,
Facts.
feelings not
I'm
being
with
facts.
and I'm with you,
Mhm.
like, both matter, the emotional and just the factual, I think both are very important in, like, using both for finding balance for sure. I'm with
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
100%.
So let me ask you, because I'm curious about, as a Black artist and as a man,
Mhm.
have you, in this space, in the art world, have you experienced imposter syndrome, or alternatively feeling of like you're pushing up against a mold that people are
Um,
trying to put you in?
I think, honestly, in the beginning, it was with Instagram, I would
Mm,
say. I think, it kinda like you're trying to find your way. You're trying to, like, find and you in your mind, you're thinking you need to create photos, and the more people like and comment, the better you're getting. And I was finding that when I was doing photos that fit into what the people were comfortable with, I did get a lot of traction and, people liking and all that. But when I did something that was real from the heart, something that was really who I am and like pushed me creatively, I got like crickets. And then like you get pushed to like, okay, so should I do like one of those photos and then sprinkle the real? And then it's like now I'm splitting myself. And if
mm,
you know anything about artistry, it's like you gotta be you. You can't. I mean, people do it all the time. They put the fake stuff out, but then it doesn't translate and people call you out for it and you lose fans like that or people that are
mhm,
supporters more so. So I think initially it was just being brave enough to know like just because it's not being recognized doesn't mean that you're not on to something. The more I've leaned into who I truly am and got out of the things I would say that are more predictable, like especially when I was traveling and taking like you can just take pictures in front of like, I don't know, Eiffel Tower or something like that, or do I don't know, there's just certain photos that are very like, oh yeah, wait, cool, or just photos of me with nice clothes on, sitting down, sipping a Moscato or something. I don't know, like stuff that's very like it fits the, "Oh, fly," versus like, "Oh, this makes me
yeah.
think." I don't wanna think. Like, what does
We
this
just wanna look
mean?
at
Yeah,
a
I
pretty
just
picture.
wanna
Give us a pretty
2
picture.
seconds, dup, dup, you make me think, nope, don't want it, so that as a creative, it puts you in a position where you're like, "Damn, am I good?" "Am I great? Am I good as I think I am? Am I growing? Am I going about this the right way?" And then you see other people that are kinda playing that game to the 10th degree, and they're actually you might see them have millions of followers and thousands of followers, and they get all these deals, and you think they do anyway. I'm
Yeah,
assuming they're getting these deals. And that also creates a sense of like, "Damn, like, am I maybe this just ain't for me?" But then what I found out and changed the game was that, yo, there's the art world and what you see on your phone are two different worlds. They
mhm,
don't collide. And they don't have anything to do with each other for the most part. Like you getting in galleries, you getting a book deal, you getting like a deal with a to shoot like a official like I haven't done Vogue, but let's say something like that.
yeah, yeah,
That's not they're not going on Instagram to see how many followers you got. Like they're
mhm,
looking at what's your work, like what are you got to be in the industry, you got to be like talking and meeting people and reaching out with emails. They're not coming to find you, not that
yeah.
level anyway. So
They ain't
um
trying to find your Instagram
not
page.
they I'm telling you, like, sometimes, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, but for the most part, like, especially if you're up and coming, you gotta be hungry. You gotta, like, put yourself out there for real, not be afraid. So, I think, in doing that, I think I just felt this innate fear to really let it be me. But that was the thing that actually opened up the doors, honestly, because it got me noticed because it wasn't the same old, same old. You know, it was
Mhm.
something that was standing out. And not that, art that is more, I don't want to say predictable, but has been done before. Not saying there's not that's not beautiful, that artist isn't amazing, but when you look at how many people are doing what you're doing, it's like, yeah, how do you stand out? Like, what's
Right.
special about you? What do you do that you don't think anyone else can do? And the more I kind of leaned into that, I feel like the more the doors started opening. And when I've gotten like deals and they've asked me like what I'm going to shoot, and they kind of ask you like, okay, what's your idea? And it's like a collaborative process in the meetings. I said something different. I went a different route, and I didn't go the cliche, yeah, I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna do something with the hair. Like I purposely push myself. And I feel like in those meetings sometimes they might not understand it either, because they're kind of, you can tell they're like, okay, but it's like, yo, just trust yourself. Trust yourself. And then in the end product, they always went really well. Like I've always
Mm,
delivered. And that's the lesson. Like push yourself and make it yours. Like make sure it's you. Because if you pop, say it like become successful and you didn't put you into it, and people know you as and they for that, and you like, damn, that ain't even me. Like it's not gonna feel the same versus you really like putting your all on the line, like, "Nah, I believe in this. Like, I don't
yeah.
care. Like, I might go broke working on this film, working on this book, but this is what I believe in, and if that pops, yo, like, that's what it's about. That's the rush. That's the energy that I'm about, and,
Yeah.
I want for all of us in some sort of way, whatever way that is for each individual." Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, in podcasting, there's millions of podcasts,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And so, one of my mentors early on was like, "Okay, Whitney, like, what's unique about your show is you." So,
mm.
like, that's the beauty of podcasting is that you just bring you, and, like, that will be what sets
That
you
would be the
apart.
thing that people
So,
feel.
like
Yeah.
right, so don't take yourself out of the picture. You
Mm.
are the product, for
Word.
podcasting, and I think that's so anti what I've learned as a
Mhm,
trained attorney is,
mm,
like, I need to remove myself and my experience and my background out of my advocacy because that might negatively impact my client.
mm.
Like, I have to
Mm,
conform to everything that this space is telling me is appropriate or the right way to
mm,
do this legal advocacy. And
mm,
that's been really challenging. That does create this like fracturing, like what you were talking about before, of for me, not for everybody, but for me,
mhm,
of feeling like, no, I need to be doing something where I can be my whole self every
mm.
day in, day out, no matter which room I'm stepping in, because
Yeah,
it doesn't fill me up,
word,
It doesn't fill me up, and that's what I need in this life.
word. I'm with it. I'm supporting you 100%. And the funny thing, this kind of also I think goes with this conversation. It's like sometimes you really have to follow the game or the rules, but really you got to learn those. You got to learn the basics though. You got to learn the basics. That's the problem. People want to break the rules before learning the basics. It don't work that way.
Mhm.
You got to work your way up to like really master or really understand the basic of the landscape that you're in. Then you break the rules. You know what I mean? Like, and you figure out like the way to get your voice in there and like make sure you push it. But I think sometimes people get too caught up in just being just outside the box completely, but not giving respect and honor to what it really is the craft you're in. Like you
Mhm.
gotta understand these core principles and do your homework and find the OGs, find the people that have been doing this that do it the way you like and learn from them. Like get the information. Then you can start partying a little bit, so to speak, like having like your
Yeah.
little twist on it. But that's also been a big learning lesson for me. Sometimes you just want to start off the gate just like, I want to do it my way. And it's like, nah, sit down, learn the game. Like it's
Yeah,
boring, it
simmer down.
sucks. It's so much more fun when I do it my way, but it's like it'll take you so much further when you really learn the basics of whatever you're trying to do. And then you it just takes it to a different level. Like with photography, I started with digital and then I was decent the way I learned because I was self-taught. And the thing that I took me to the next level was when I just bought a film camera. I was like, I'm gonna get a film
Mm,
camera. I shot film for like 6 months straight all film, and that's all mechanical. There's
Yeah.
nothing nice about it, does anything, nothing's automatic for the most part. The one I had wasn't automatic anyway. And I learned that taught me the camera to the point now when I get a camera, I already know the settings that I need in my mind. I know what it's
Mm,
gonna look like, like just the numbers and what that does. I don't even have to think. My hands to the camera, I don't even think. Versus
right.
before when I didn't learn those basics.
I'm definitely the person that, came into the work environment like, "Imma do things my way," and,
Oh, that's
I've
good though.
learned.
That's spunk. That's spunk. Yeah, you need that's what I'm saying. Like that's a good part. It's just like sometimes you come in strong. It's like, all right, now simmer down. But you gotta have that fight though. That's the thing. You just gotta
Yeah,
it's like learning to get from that to making it a
right,
skilled kind of vibe, I found. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I so appreciate this conversation. So, okay, the book is called Black Astronaut.
And yep, and the best way to get it is Amazon. It's available now. If you just go there and search Black Astronaut, Kamal X pops up. It's a big yellow X on it. X is my thing. Yeah, any love and support really means the world, honestly.
It
Mhm.
does. And so we talk so much about Instagram and social media. So where can folks find you if they want to get to
So
know more about you?
okay, yeah. So Instagram is I am Kamal X. Kamal spelled Kamal and just the letter X. I also have a website, IamKamalX.com, where everything is there. You know, all my links. You can figure out what I got going on. Sometimes I make announcements about what I got going on next, as I'm working on a new project already. But it's a great way to connect and definitely just connect in general. Like if you're a creative or someone that you connected with something I said, I'm always open to have conversation and give honesty and give pointers in terms of what I've used to get to where I've gotten and or just listen. I just listen because I think we need community more than anything. I think at the end of the
Mhm.
day, we need each other and the soloist vibe is a part of the world today. I'm not gonna lie. We all kind of have to be in our own bag, but it's also the balance of remembering that we are a community, remembering that people got your back, remembering that there's resources out there outside of your immediate circle that will show you support. And I'm definitely a advocate for that. So I'm always here for real.
Absolutely. This conversation has just been so, so great. I'm hoping that folks who are listening are getting this message of like, one, you're enough.
Mhm.
What you have to offer, build on that. And that our happiness and our purpose and our passion and our mission, that's what's important, not
Facts.
necessarily what society or what external forces are saying matters as far as success goes.
Word. Remember how special, how beautiful, and how important your light is. Like I
Mm,
think sometimes we really let all these distractions get in the way. We forget who we are sometimes, and that's real because like we got so many things that we're juggling, and I understand that too. But like sometimes you just have to sit back and remember like, why not me? I used to ask that question all the time, like, why me? Why me? Whether it's good or bad, why me? Why not you? Like this
mhm.
conversation, whatever you felt like, there's things in your heart that you're feeling like, yo, put as much as you can into that because there's a reason. That's a gift. That really is a gift that's been placed into you, and you don't know where that can go.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to listen to past episodes and to subscribe. Also, feel free to leave me a message. I want to know what you think about this show. So you can do that by leaving a review, or you can do that by sending me an email at impostrixpodcast@gmail.com. This podcast is for me, and this podcast is for you. And I hope that you're leaving this podcast and this experience feeling validated, because that's the goal. Be validated. Until next time.